on the News Channel 5 network. This is the plus side of Nashville.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the plus side of Nashville. I'm Tuwanda Coleman. The Tennessee Performing Arts Center has a fantastic new theater season ahead. Get ready for some of your favorite classics as well as contemporary hits. We'll run down all the shows in TPAC's 2017-2018 Broadway series in just a bit. But I know you'll want to stick around for that, so stay tuned. We're starting things off on a serious note and an important topic. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. On average, 121 people die by suicide every day. 3 of those deaths will be in Tennessee, and we want to see those numbers drop to 0. Here to help talk about suicide prevention is Kat Cloud, who is the Tennessee Area Director for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and Josh Easler, a Middle Tennessee board member. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
I know this is not always an easy subject to talk about, but one that is very, very important. I think we all know someone that has at some point in time maybe died by a suicide. Are there certain statistics that we are dealing with here in the state of Tennessee that you want to make sure that we know about, Kat?
Sure. As you said, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the state of Tennessee. Our youth are especially impacted by suicide. It is the 2nd leading cause of death for those 10 to 14, and the 2nd leading cause of death for those 24 to 35, 3rd leading cause of death for those 15 to 24.
Wow. Well, I know suicide is one of those complex things that you can never quite say for sure whether it was suicide or not. So I know some of these numbers may not be exact, right, Josh?
That's right. A lot of times folks do leave a suicide letter. We lost my brother to suicide in 2007 and he left a letter. But a lot of times they don't. There are certainly undiagnosed cases of suicide, a drug overdose or a car crash, or we don't really know for sure, which is what makes it very difficult to track the information.
And from what I understand, there are often warning signs, and sometimes we may not know that there are warning signs. Are there things we need to look for, Kat?
There are 3 main things that we look for as indicators of suicide, and those are talk, behavior, and mood. So most times when someone is suicidal or considering taking their lives, they'll talk about it. They'll say that they're a burden or they're feeling really overwhelmed. They are looking for ways to die, and they may say so. Oh. And oftentimes that can be scary when someone says that, and you might brush it off as someone just joking. But
yeah, right. We may not take it serious.
Right, but the rule of thumb is to always take it seriously. Their behaviors are going to change. They might start acting more recklessly or abusing or using more alcohol or drugs than they normally do. They might take risks that they normally wouldn't, or things that they usually enjoyed, they suddenly don't seem to anymore. And then their mood will change. You might see an increase in anxiety or depression. They might be sleeping a lot and just kind of not their normal selves.
Yeah, okay, so those are all things we definitely need to keep in mind. If we feel like that someone may be in crisis, that some of those signs that you mentioned we're starting to see displayed with some family member or friend, what should we do?
Well, ask them directly if they are considering suicide. It's okay to say the word, and we encourage it, because if you ask someone if they're okay, you may get a different answer than if you ask somebody, are you having thoughts of suicide?
Okay. I know you said, Josh, that you have a brother who unfortunately died by suicide. How, if you're someone that is wanting to comfort a family member, how do you approach them? What do you say?
Well, each case is different, certainly, but trying to connect people who have been down a similar path is, I think, the strongest thing that you can do. I like to talk to other people who've lost siblings to suicide. I know my parents go to support groups to talk about this with other parents who've lost their children as well. And so trying to find a community. Unfortunately, this is a very large community of people who are survivors of suicide, and connecting those going down that path with those of us who have been through it is helpful.
Okay. All right, because I know you can feel you don't know what to say sometimes.
Correct, you don't.
for other people. But I'm sure you don't mind if somebody just says my condolences.
Not at all.
Would be
okay.
If someone is perhaps watching today and maybe having some of those thoughts, what would you recommend they do?
I would recommend that they reach out to someone they trust or call the National Prevention Lifeline. It's a crisis lifeline that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with people who will be there to help.
There's the number 2 on the screen there, CAD. So are people there 24 hours basically?
Every day.
Every
yes.
day? And
rain, shine, holidays, it doesn't matter. They're there to help.
Okay.
And there's also a crisis text line that you can text if you're in crisis and they'll respond, and that number is 741-741.
Thank you.
And it's important that people know that there's nothing that's too insignificant. If something feels like, oh, I should or shouldn't call, they should call. Okay. For sure.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we've got a big event that we want to talk about, and you may be sitting out there wondering how you can help the Suicide Prevention Network, and we'll be back with more in just a bit.